Chosen one witnessed the unfolding of divine justice right before your eyes. While they meticulously plotted your downfall, filled with hatred and envy, the universe worked quietly behind the scenes, ensuring that every action returned to its source in perfect balance. Now their lives begin to unravel in spectacular fashion, not because of anything you did, but as a direct result of the toxic obsession they harbored. As they sink deeper into the quicksand of their own negativity, you observe the most profound truth. Those who dedicate themselves to destroying others ultimately orchestrate their own ruin. At the core of their crusade against you was a festering jealousy, a bitterness born from watching your life, your relationships, and your qualities. Instead of using those feelings as motivation for growth, they allowed jealousy to metastasize into an all-consuming fixation on tearing you down. They believed that diminishing your light would somehow make theirs shine brighter by comparison. But the reality is, nothing you did actually caused this reaction. Your very existence was enough, serving as a mirror that reflected back all the things they secretly believed were missing in themselves. They constantly compared themselves to you, measuring the distance between their facade and your genuine self. This internal battle became like acid, eating away at them from within. What they projected onto you was never really about you. It was their own shame, insecurities, and self-loathing, casting you as the scapegoat for their wounded ego, rather than confronting their own broken reflection in the mirror. They tried desperately to shatter the mirror, and the methods they used against you reveal just how calculated their obsession truly was. This wasn't mere dislike or a passing conflict. It was a systematic campaign, carried out with the intention of dismantling your existence piece by piece. They studied every aspect of your foundation, searching for the key supports they could weaken or destroy. Every relationship you valued was mapped, analyzed, and targeted for sabotage, as they sought to poison your connections and isolate you. They scrutinized your reputation, pinpointing vulnerabilities to exploit, and launched smear campaigns with ruthless precision, spreading carefully crafted narratives intended to erode how others saw you. Half-truths became weapons, your words twisted out of context to create false impressions, and everything was disseminated through networks they had cultivated specifically to maximize the damage within your most valued communities. They skillfully manipulated others, presenting themselves as victims and casting you as the villain, even manufacturing evidence and orchestrating coordinated attacks to reinforce their version of reality. An echo chamber formed, amplifying their distortions until a mob mentality took hold among those who never bothered to verify the claims. The chaos they created was not accidental. It was strategic, designed to keep you constantly off balance, always defending yourself, never able to find solid ground. They struck from every direction, generating storms of drama that drained your energy and attention. All the while, they monitored your responses, quickly adjusting their tactics to weaponize anything you did or said. Most insidious of all, they worked to isolate you by systematically damaging your relationships, whispering poison into receptive ears and creating rifts between you and potential supporters. Over time, even those who might have stood by you began to doubt, distance themselves, or turn against you entirely, transformed into unwitting participants in their campaign. None of this was impulsive or emotional. It was cold, calculated warfare, executed with deliberate intent to destroy everything you had built, everything you cared about, and everything you are. The depth and precision of their actions revealed just how much their obsession with you consumed them, leaving little energy for anything else. While they were fixated on undermining your life, they neglected the foundations of their own. Many around you may have missed the bigger picture, but it's now perfectly clear. Their obsession with destroying you has become the centerpiece of their existence, occupying their every waking thought until they finally collapse into restless sleep. It's easy to see now that their behavior isn't new or unique to you. It's a pattern they have repeated with other targets throughout their life. Most revealing is the unmistakable link between the intensity of their attacks and the rapid unraveling of their own world. With each new scheme, they become more depleted. Every toxic move burns another bridge, leaving them increasingly isolated. Their obsession with your downfall is, with almost mathematical certainty, orchestrating their own destruction. The universe, after all, operates with a flawless balance. Every act produces an equal and opposite reaction. And while the response may be delayed, it is never denied. Now, that delay has ended, and the accumulated force of every bit of negativity they aimed at you is crashing back upon them with devastating impact. Their life is imploding in direct proportion to the harm they tried to cause you. The very foundation they neglected while plotting against you is now riddled with structural failures. The relationships they tried to sabotage for you are now fractured beyond repair in their own world. Their reputation, once a weapon they tried to use against you, is left in shreds, while yours stands strong, even elevated by the dignity and resilience you showed throughout their attacks. Those they convinced to join their cause are now abandoning them, unable to ignore the reality of the situation as the truth comes to light. Former allies are stepping back, unwilling to be associated with tactics that now appear clearly unhinged to anyone watching. The army they once relied upon is dissolving, leaving them exposed and alone in the very battlefield they created. The isolation they tried to force upon you has come full circle, surrounding them instead. Everything they once plotted for you is now unfolding in their own reality. People are pulling away from their toxicity. Doors that once opened for them are closing. Opportunities are vanishing, and the support systems they relied on are steadily eroding. They find themselves more isolated than ever, surrounded by the ruins of relationships they destroyed while trying to block your path. Even if their relentless campaigns sometimes clouded your mind with doubt or confusion, deep down, you always sense the truth. We are here to affirm what your intuition has quietly told you all along. You did nothing to deserve the intensity of their fixation or the destructive obsession they aimed your way. Their actions were never about anything you did or said. Instead, it was all about the internal chaos raging within them, projected outward with you as their chosen target. What you experienced went far beyond the bounds of ordinary conflict. This was not normal disagreement or casual dislike. The sheer amount of energy and planning they put into tearing you down reveals the depth of their obsession, something most people could not comprehend or even believe. Ordinary people simply do not behave this way, no matter the provocation, and in your case there was none. The justice you are now witnessing is not by chance or coincidence. It is the inevitable result of the energy they deliberately sent out, returning to them amplified by the malice that fueled it. The universe reflects their intentions back with remarkable accuracy, ensuring their own circumstances now mirror exactly what they wished upon you, all with mathematical precision and absolute neutrality. What started as a secret war, visible only to you and a few close bystanders, has now burst into the open. Their unraveling is on display for all to see, no longer hidden behind a carefully crafted facade. The mask hasn't just slipped, it's shattered, exposing their raw obsession for everyone to witness. The alliance they built against you is now crumbling, fracturing along lines created by their own toxicity, as even their closest recruits begin to question the reality of the narrative they once accepted without doubt. As time went on, the cracks in their story began to show, even to those who had been their most loyal supporters. Internal conflicts intensified within their circle as the more discerning among their allies started noticing just how disproportionate and unhealthy the campaign against you had become. Some began to distance themselves, quietly stepping away as they realized the obsession was not only misplaced, but toxic. Those who once accepted every claim made about you without question were now forced to compare those accusations with the reality unfolding in front of them. The contrast became impossible to deny. The image of you as a villain simply didn't line up with your consistent integrity, strength, and character. Their relentless accusations began to ring hollow, especially when held up against the mounting evidence of their own increasingly erratic and destructive behavior. The gap between who they claimed you were and who you actually are became too wide to ignore, no matter how hard they tried to rationalize or spin the story. The reputation they had worked so hard to polish, often at the expense of yours, began to crumble under the weight of their obsession. Professional contacts began severing ties, no longer willing to associate with the drama and chaos that seemed to follow them. Social circles quietly but decisively created distance, while entire communities started recognizing the familiar pattern of destruction that trailed in their wake. Ironically, the very audience they had gathered in hopes of witnessing your downfall now bore witness instead to their unraveling. Quick pause. Family, if this message resonates with your soul and you'd like to support this sacred work, feel free to buy me a coffee. It helps keep this space alive with truth, light, and divine clarity. The link is in the description, and don't forget to drop number 88 in the comments if you're feeling this. Let's keep moving forward. They never anticipated and could never have understood how you would respond to their attacks. While they fully expected you to collapse under the pressure and cruelty they unleashed, you remained standing. Where they hoped your foundation would shatter, you proved yourself anchored, refusing to let their negativity uproot your sense of self. They thought they could break your spirit, but your resilience ran deeper than any wound they could inflict. You weathered storms that would have flattened others, enduring relentless campaigns designed to exploit what they perceived as weaknesses, only to find you emerging stronger each time. The blows that would have destabilized those with less inner strength became the very proof of your endurance. Through every trial, you maintained a core stability that defied their expectations and frustrated their calculated plans. The boundaries you set became walls they couldn't breach, barriers against their attempts to rewrite your reality with their lies. You refused to internalize the false narratives they worked so tirelessly to implant in your mind, recognizing their projections for what they were and refusing to carry the burden of their displaced shame and inadequacy. Your unwavering refusal to be destroyed not only protected you, it also created the perfect environment for their own obsession to turn inward and consume them. Every attack that failed to reach you drained their energy. Each thwarted campaign chipped away at their confidence and credibility, wounding them in ways they had hoped to wound you. Every moment they spent plotting your downfall only accelerated their own. All the energy they poured into trying to destroy you was energy stolen from sustaining their own lives. While they devoted themselves to tearing you down, they neglected the care, stability, and nourishment their own souls and situations required. You never had to retaliate or stoop to their level. Your power came from simply holding your ground, standing strong and unwavering while they battered themselves against the immovable strength at your center. This experience of targeted destruction isn't unique to you. You are not alone in this battle. There is an entire community standing beside you, bound by the shared recognition of these subtle yet devastating dynamics that often go unnoticed by those who haven't experienced them. We see through the carefully crafted facades that might deceive others, perceiving the strategic nature of attacks disguised as spontaneous or isolated conflicts. We can recognize the unmistakable signature of obsessive destruction because we have lived through it ourselves, watching it play out again and again in different forms. Together, our collective awareness becomes a source of validation and strength, offering support in ways mainstream perspectives frequently deny or minimize. Where others might try to brush off your experience as mere coincidence or exaggeration, we know better. We have witnessed the deliberate construction of these campaigns and understand the real impact they cause. Where outsiders might suggest that you're simply overreacting, we confirm and reinforce the reality of what you've endured. If anyone attempts to gaslight you or question your perception, our community stands firm, affirming what you know to be true and reminding you that your experience is both real and valid. Our shared witness becomes a living testament to the reality unfolding before us. Their obsession with destroying you is inevitably turning back upon them and destroying them instead. We observe this cycle with almost scientific precision, watching as the very energy they directed outward is now rebounding upon them with multiplied force. Universal balance asserts itself through these natural consequences. What they sent out returns with interest as the scales tip back toward equilibrium. Now the tide has visibly turned in the court of public perception. What began as their crusade to expose invented flaws in you has instead become a public unveiling of their true character. The spotlight they tried so hard to direct onto your supposed faults has now swung back, illuminating their own behavior, their patterns, and their relentless obsession for all to see. Those who are paying attention, those with open hearts and clear eyes, now recognize the undeniable contrast between the person they accused you of being and the person you have consistently shown yourself to be, especially in your calm, dignified, and resilient responses to their attacks. The very qualities they tried to project onto you, instability, malice, and deception, are now revealed to be rooted in their own actions and motives, not yours. In this way, truth asserts itself through the universal law of cause and effect, ensuring that light is ultimately cast where it is most needed. With time, the very behaviors they projected onto you became more visible in themselves, exposed with growing clarity as their campaign unraveled. What once could be dismissed as rumor or misunderstanding evolved into undeniable evidence, as the line between their accusations and their own conduct blurred beyond repair. People who were once neutral, hesitant, or even subtly swayed by their narrative began to see the situation with fresh eyes. As the facts piled up and contradictions mounted, a collective reevaluation took place. Those who had watched quietly from the sidelines now questioned everything they had been told, realizing the sheer disproportion of energy and focus their campaign demanded. It became obvious to all but the most willfully blind that such relentless fixation went far beyond the bounds of ordinary human conflict. To any objective observer, the single-mindedness of their efforts to bring you down seemed less like righteous indignation and more like an unhealthy compulsive obsession spiraling out of control. This shift in perception created a ripple effect, awakening the empathy and conscience of many who had previously stood silent. Compassionate voices emerged from the crowd, some reaching out with heartfelt apologies for having believed the lies, others stepping forward to publicly acknowledge the injustice you had endured. There were those who, out of fear or uncertainty, had chosen to remain invisible while the attacks raged, but who now finally felt empowered to speak the truth and support you openly. The artificial isolation their campaign had tried to force upon you began to dissolve, replaced by authentic relationships built on mutual respect, trust, and a shared appreciation for integrity. Where they had once succeeded in turning people against you, they now inadvertently inspired a wave of solidarity among those who recognized the value of your character. Meanwhile, the collapse of their narrative brought with it profound personal transformation for you. With their influence diminishing, the psychological weight you had carried for so long began to lift. The endless cycle of defending yourself, anticipating their next move and bracing for fresh attacks was gradually replaced by a sense of deep relief and freedom. Energy that was once consumed by anxiety, self-doubt, and damage control became available for creation, joy, and genuine self-expression. The mental clutter and emotional exhaustion faded, replaced by a growing sense of peace, clarity, and possibility. You began to realize that their judgments, once so heavy and threatening, now barely mattered. Their attempts to label, diminish, or define you lost all their power, bouncing harmlessly off the solid core of self-knowledge you had forged through adversity. Your sense of identity, once battered and questioned, now stood on unshakable ground. The defensive walls you built out of necessity transformed into open gateways for authentic connection, creativity, and growth. What was once a posture of constant vigilance softened into an expansive presence, allowing you to step into life more fully and unapologetically. Energy that had been tied up in countering falsehoods and repairing harm was finally free to support your own dreams, relationships, and well-being. You found yourself moving forward with fresh confidence, no longer looking back or bracing for harm. The psychological space they had rented in your mind became smaller and smaller, until it was virtually non-existent, a distant memory with no hold over your present. This newfound liberation carried with it a profound realization. You were never required to defeat them directly, never obligated to battle their darkness with your own. The only true requirement was to endure, to remain rooted in your authentic self, to let their obsession run its course until it exhausted itself. Their destructive energy, once seemingly overwhelming, contained within it the seeds of its own demise. Your refusal to be destroyed, your unwavering commitment to living your truth, became the silent but unstoppable force that ultimately undid their campaign. Now, as the dust from their unraveling finally settles, you step into a new chapter marked by restoration, renewal, and boundless growth. The emptiness left behind by their withdrawal becomes fertile ground for new dreams and connections. The friendships, opportunities, and creative ventures that once felt out of reach now re-enter your life, drawn by the clarity and peace you have reclaimed. Your energy, no longer hijacked by crisis, can now be channeled into building, healing, and expanding every aspect of your world. You are free to rediscover passions, invest in your well-being, and nurture the relationships that nourish your soul. The contrast between your path and theirs becomes even more striking. While they spiral further into contraction, defensiveness, and bitterness, trapped by the consequences of their own actions, you move forward with grace, purpose, and a renewed sense of agency. The very areas of your life that once felt under siege now become sources of abundance, inspiration, and joy. Your journey is no longer defined by surviving their attacks, but by the unfolding of your highest potential, the realization of your true gifts, and the creation of a reality that reflects the strength and wisdom you gain through every challenge. This is the ultimate victory, the knowledge that your freedom, dignity, and fulfillment are not just intact, but flourishing, despite every attempt to take them from you. You no longer measure your worth against their opinions or actions. Instead, you live anchored in your own light, surrounded by a community that sees and values you for who you truly are. The story of their campaign becomes just one chapter in a much greater narrative, the story of your resilience, transformation, and triumphant return to your authentic path. All those qualities and areas of your life they once worked so hard to damage, your self-worth, your relationships, your reputation, your inner peace, now flourish with new energy and radiant strength. It's as if every attempt to harm you has been transformed into fertilizer for your own growth. Meanwhile, the very same aspects of their existence are crumbling at an ever-quickening pace. The elegance of this inverse relationship reveals the profound perfection of universal balance in motion. What they intended for you has circled back to them, while everything they tried to strip from your life is now being restored and multiplied in ways they never could have predicted. The generosity, kindness, and grace you showed to others, even during your hardest moments under attack or slander, now returns to you many times over. Where they tried to isolate you, you find yourself surrounded by new connections, genuine friendships, and allies who are drawn not to any mask or performance but to your real, authentic spirit. Every time they tried to manufacture chaos, you now find an even deeper calm within yourself. With every storm they conjured, you are met with greater clarity and peace. As they struggle to sustain disorder, you find your life organizing itself naturally, bringing you the order, structure, and stability that had once seemed threatened. Even relationships that were strained or damaged by their interference begin to heal, revealing a new level of honesty and strength. Some bonds, tested by the weight of false narratives and manipulation, emerge more resilient and meaningful, built on a foundation of truth. Others, which no longer serve your highest good, gently release, creating sacred space for new connections that are more closely aligned with the person you've become. Your support network evolves into a stronger, more resilient formation, as influences that once manipulated or drained you fall away, replaced by steadfast friends and new companions who genuinely support your journey. As you shed the old defensive posture, the energy you once used to protect yourself is now available to fuel your dreams, projects, and ambitions. Doors that were closed to you, whether by rumor, doubt, or the force of their influence, begin to open as your credibility becomes evident and their manipulations are exposed. Suddenly, opportunities that were previously hidden by the fog of their campaigns become clear and attainable. You are able to see and seize possibilities that once seemed unreachable, simply because you have been released from their grip. Every day your sense of peace deepens while their agitation grows more pronounced. The contrast between your expanding serenity and their unraveling anxiety becomes a visible demonstration of the two diverging paths you now travel. While they are stuck fighting imaginary battles against the false character they projected onto you, wasting precious time and energy, you are freed to address the authentic challenges and joys of your real life. Your attention returns to what truly matters: building, creating, loving, and living fully in the present. The universe continues to restore everything their campaign tried to steal: your reputation, your sense of belonging, your stability, and your deep inner calm. At the same time, those very qualities are withdrawn from their world, as the foundation they tried to undermine in you collapses beneath their own feet. While their life is consumed by the consequences of the energy they sent out, your world opens up, filled with new light, possibilities, and the kind of peace that cannot be shaken by anyone else's actions. This is the living proof of cosmic justice, the restoration of everything you lost, multiplied, and made new, alongside the dissolution of everything built on lies and obsession. This isn't punishment. It's simply the natural consequence, the precise mathematics of cause returning to its source. The harm they tried to send your way comes back to harm them, while the resilience you maintained now returns as renewed strength. This complete reversal stands as living proof of what unfolds when obsession overtakes reason and destruction becomes someone's primary goal. In their relentless focus on bringing you down, they drafted blueprints for devastation, gathered resources, and worked tirelessly to build catastrophe, never realizing they were constructing it around themselves instead of you. Every aspect they tried to ruin in your life now crumbles in theirs with exact correspondence. The same methods they used against you are now working against them with striking similarity. Each outcome they plotted for you now unfolds in their own experience with perfect symmetry. They have become the living example of the misery they intended for you. This serves as confirmation of the truth they tried so hard to avoid by projecting it onto you. Their obsession to destroy you has only led to their own undoing. The energy has come full circle, the weapons they forged have turned against them, and the destruction they planned so carefully has hit its true mark. Justice, woven into the fabric of existence, has made itself clear for anyone willing to see. That's all for today. Dear Father, I pray for the growth of my faith. Help me trust you even when physical evidence is lacking. Let me believe in your perpetual presence, knowing you will never harm me. I understand that your thoughts for me are thoughts of prosperity and not harm to give me a good future. Thank you, gracious and eternal Father, for always listening to my voice. I offer up this prayer to you in the name of Jesus. Amen. Thank you, Jesus, for your love and provision. I am grateful for your presence in my life and the abundance you bring. If this video resonated with you, please like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with those who need to hear this message. Leave a comment below about your journey and how you are preparing for your own triumphant return. If you'd like to support our work, please consider contributing through Buy Me a Coffee. This helps us continually improve our content to offer you the best. The link to Buy Me a Coffee is in the description. No gift is too small. Whether it's a penny, a prayer, or a share, your generosity helps spread God's word and brings hope to others. Don't stop here. Watch our next video for powerful revelations about the signs that reveal you are the chosen one. We've enjoyed following this spiritual journey with you. Thank you for staying with us until the end. Keep shining brightly and embrace your destiny with courage. See you next time. Blessings to all the beautiful souls from the Enlighten Wisdom.